Hey, hello out there. Welcome to the Bold Inventor Show. I'm your host, JD Hoovener, owner, founder, and patent attorney here at Bold Patents Law Firm. You're joining us live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We've got a great guest waiting backstage, Aaron Walker. We'll be on in just a few minutes. I want to welcome those that are watching live. Anybody out there with questions about intellectual property, patents, trademarks, copyrights, or trade secrets, happy to answer any hypotheticals. I do have a disclaimer, of course, as always, being a patent attorney on a live broadcast, we don't have any confidentiality. So no attorney-client privilege here today, but I do encourage you to ask those questions. If you have anything you do want to talk about with us confidentially, I encourage you to book a free discovery call using our weekly live link. You'll get a free copy of the book right behind me, Bold Ideas, The Inventor's Guide to Patents. So here's the link to your discovery call. Click on that and you'll talk with one of our representatives and get scheduled to talk about your invention. So I've got a couple of questions that came in over the week. We'll get to those first and then we'll jump to our guest. And after that, we'll do our bold bite on a Shark Tank pitch. I tried to find a fun sports related one for us today. My co-pilot, Matt Colsetta, is out. He's on vacation this week, so I'm flying solo today. He's going to be back next week, so looking forward to that. So let's do our first question for the day. We've got, I think 4 or 5 came in. I may only do a couple. I want to make sure we have enough time for our guests. So legal notice, there it is up on the page. No confidential discussions today about any specific inventions, but I'm happy to answer any questions you've got about the law in general, process related stuff. Plug it in there. I will prioritize your questions if you're watching live. All right, let me go to our questions that came in over the week. Okay. All right, first up, let's do a trademark question here. This one's pretty high level, but it's a good one to kick off. Jonathan, good to see you. Happy Bold Wednesday. All right, what is trademark infringement and how does it occur? So trademarks, as opposed to patents, protect your business, and it protects either a name or a design, right, piece of art that represents the goods and services that you're selling. And what really is valuable is the goodwill that goes with it. Okay, so a lot of companies work for years, sometimes decades, in developing a name, right? Know how people react either emotionally or psychologically to, oh yeah, I know that brand and I know that product, and I can associate the value that it brings, the types of products, the care they take, the customer value, right? The customer service. And so what happens if you infringe, if another company, entity, decides to somehow steal that goodwill, right? They're trying to take some of that mojo, that energy, that value that you've built over the years and put it toward their own separate commercial enterprise. That's infringement. So if ever you have bought a product and it looks or smells or sounds like a well-known product or a product that you are familiar with, and you're like, gosh, is this related to that other one? And if you buy that product thinking, oh, maybe this is the same, right? It's like the same type of shoe as Nike, but it's got some sort of a swish. It's spelled differently. It's got some extra striping on there, but that's probably trademark infringement. Speaking of trademarks, we've got our resident expert unexpectedly.
Yes. What's going on?
Dude.
I got stood up by another attorney, so here I am.
Man, well, I was telling everybody you were on vacation, but I mean, you're on vacation every day, I guess, at Bold. I mean, you're living the dream.
Just living the dream, man. One trademark at a time.
I appreciate you coming on. Well,
yeah, sorry I'm a couple of minutes late, but I just got back from the coffee shop where we're supposed to meet. So, anyways,
well, welcome back. Yeah, we were doing trademark infringement. I did my best, swung away on this one. I feel like I maybe got a ground rule double.
I'm sure you smashed it.
So. Yeah, did good. I got another one for you, a little bit deeper. This one's got many questions that came in. Lots of people asking about intellectual property, which is a good thing. So this one has to do with a specific type of picture, and I'd like to kind of how simple the question is, but it has to do with black and white versus color. So
Yeah,
can I put a black and white picture that has a trademark for people to color in a blog? I'm not sure if I totally get that. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm
The
trying to
black
think.
and
So
white
black and white picture that has a trademark in it for people to color in a blog. Sure.
yeah.
I mean, so you're the black, the trademark includes the trademark potentially. Yeah, there's no reason that people couldn't. I guess if you had a menu, I'm thinking like if you're a restaurant and you have some like coloring books or something for the kids, and those in one of the black and white pictures, that's fine. There's no concern there, unless I'm
Right.
misinterpreting that. What do you think?
No, I think that's right. I think if they're talking about of course a blog, like an electronic website, you're going to put up someone else's logo for people to color.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Isn't
I
that
guess
bizarre?
I'd be curious to know more about the actual situation because it's a
Yeah.
bit hard, right?
Yep. Yep. Cool. Well, I gave you a word one off the bat. Let's see. Let's do go to the patent side here. This is about patent families. We don't screen these here. I'm just pumping these in.
Yeah.
Is there a good or standard way to condense all of the iterations of applications and granted patents for a citation in a table of references? Prior art search, curriculum vitae. I'm particularly thinking of IP that's been filed in numerous countries and courts where the titles, authors, bodies are largely the same, but the granted claims may differ. Okay. You're basically looking for this for a giant online library of everything that's ever been filed. Me too. Me too. I'd love to have that.
Sounds
I think I think the answer is no, but I do think there are organizations that attempt to do so. I mean, the number one that comes to my mind is World Intellectual Property Organization.
Yeah.
WIPO is the world by definition. They're trying to be the source for intellectual property. So I think they're on their way. They've got lots of tools and resources and ways you can go as an individual and search on their website for really technical subject matter, keyword searching, lots of different ways you can do Boolean searching, type by class, international class searches, that type of thing. So I think that's probably my answer. But the real answer is there's lots of different ways and lots of different places to find this information. The USPTO certainly is a great place to go for US-based patents. That is the number one place to go begin that search. There's a new public search tool that they've got up there. Know that it's not going to provide what's called non-patent literature, which is basically everything else that exists in the world. There are, believe it or not, folks that just make stuff and don't seek patent protection, and those could act as what's called prior art to prevent you from getting a patent on the same or similar subject matter. So it really is near impossible to really have this at all knowing one place. But I think WIPO is going to be the place to go look. Matt,
so reading between the lines here, it almost seems like this individual is looking to find like opportunities where like trade or patents have been filed, but like not the full claims in some countries. And I'm kind of curious what their motivation is for wanting that information.
Yeah, I think also that's a good point. I think one other thing to mention is that if I get a patent in only the US, that will prevent someone outside the US, let's say in Germany, from getting a German patent. It must be new, not just within the country, but in the whole world.
It's got to be novel.
Important to clarify. Yeah. So new in the whole world, doesn't matter which country you're searching necessarily. So let's do one more, then we'll go to our guest, Aaron Walker, who's been waiting backstage. He's got a really cool fitness system.
Cool.
That have him show off and talk about. Okay, let's see. All right. Here we go. This is from Reddit. Lots of smart individuals out there in Reddit. All right. I understand that the U.S. attorneys needed to file a formal trademark application in the U.S. However, does that apply to a letter of protest? Did we cover this already? Can a Canadian entity submit one, or is it necessary for them to hire a U.S. attorney for this?
That's an awesome question.
Okay.
And I know part of the answer.
Hey, we'll take it. We'll take it.
So the first part, a U.S. attorney is needed to file a formal trademark application to the USPTO. Yes, but only if you're not a U.S. citizen. So, if you are a
Okay.
Canadian entity, then yes, you'll have to have a U.S.-based attorney file that application for you in the United States.
Okay.
Um, Now, if you have a trademark in Canada, you potentially could take it to the United States with Madrid Protocol. Potentially, that would be
Okay.
an option for you. But the letter of protest, do you have to have do you have to have an attorney do the letter of protest? I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay.
My initial thought is yes. Yes.
There it is.
But I could be wrong about that.
Very good. And that's a US thing, a letter of protest.
Yeah, I imagine that
When
they
does
have
that
the
come
same.
up?
So if you are aware of a third party that has not been examined yet by the USPTO,
Okay.
you can file a letter of protest, basically doing some research for the examining attorney, letting them know that there's these other companies using the similar trademark, or you're using the trademark already. You're basically just giving the examining attorney a little bit more information to help them make the determination that there's a problem with the application.
Got it.
And
Yeah.
you would do that as opposed to, or maybe in conjunction with, an opposition at a later date. So if you're trying to avoid the opposition, maybe you consider doing a letter of protest. And if that's not persuasive to the examining attorney, then you can at least file the opposition later.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Thank you,
Yeah.
Matt. Well, we did great. I say we bring on our guest here, Aaron.
Let's do it.
Aaron Walker from Twist Resist. Welcome to the Bold Inventor Show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
What's up, Aaron?
Howdy.
Liking that, man. Twist Resist. Aaron, so where are you from? Where are you calling from?
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Cool.
Nice.
All right. I've not spent any time in Albuquerque, but I imagine it's probably getting pretty warm this time of year.
Usually it would be. We've had some rain the past couple days, which is odd for our desert. But yeah, normally we'd be kind of cooking right now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, excited to hear about Twist Resist and your background personally. Why don't you give us kind of a quick summary? What have you done professionally, academically, and how did you find yourself founding this company, Twist Resist?
Yeah. I came up with it by being a physical therapy patient. I was in and out of PT a lot of times from racing dirt bikes, and you often wreck and get injured. So seeing the treatment they're giving me and also trying to go to the gym to stay in shape, I thought, man, there needs to be a specialty piece of strength equipment for physical therapy, because the bands just weren't making me strong enough, I felt. And a lot of their strengthening methods are literally hands-on, like the therapist is the resistance that you're pushing.
Right.
And so just doing that, doing martial arts, learning about rotational strength, and just really, really wanted to build that strength. So I went out and built the device, started with a little prototype, hired an engineer. I'm partially a mechanical engineer, but I couldn't finish up that degree. So that gave me a little leg up to get started. But it wasn't
great.
that bad. It wasn't that bad to get an engineer to draw up some stuff, build out a prototype, and have something in my hand to show and tell with therapists and chiropractors and things, and just see if I'm on the right track. And then I realized, man, I really need to know what I'm doing here, so I could either go back to school for business or go back to school for physical therapy. And I thought I better just do the business, because physical therapy right now is a PhD. And
He's basically a doctor. Yeah.
not going to get a PhD for this project, but business is fun. So yeah, once I did that degree and iterated a couple prototypes, my college over here, University of New Mexico, they held a business plan competition. So I decided to finally pull it out of the garage and enter the competition. And I won that and went into some business accelerators and kind of pumping more money into it with prototypes and feedback, and then patents and trademark, and beta testing in physical therapy clinics and just trying to get the community around this project in a way that I can make sure that it's more likely to succeed rather than staying in, my garage or my office, so it's come around. It's come pretty far. It's not the cheapest endeavor to try and bootstrap, but when you have a passion, you just get in there and you just make it happen, literally sacrifice and make it happen.
Right. Well, I mean, walk me through. Let's take it back to the injury. Do you mind talking to us about what kind of injury you had way back when?
Lots of different injuries. Sometimes you wreck and you just go flying and you don't know what you hurt. You just get back on your bike and keep racing. And then,
Okay.
so I had broken ankle, collarbone, scoliosis. My spine was a little side to side, arthritis in my shoulders and hips. Just pains that were real deep and required some special therapy that was literally hands-on resistance. And that was the therapist I spoke to first. I was like, man, they should make a machine that does this and that and that. And he looked at me like, yeah, they really should make that machine.
Okay, so that is it. It's kind of creating a machine that will emulate as close as possible, or maybe as well as human, right? Physical therapy, hand touch therapy. What's an example of that type of a therapy, right? Where a physical therapist is using their hands.
Yeah, so the one that I'm thinking of specifically is hip rotation. You'll be sitting on the edge of the therapy table, and the therapist there in front of you, and he'll literally grab your ankle and your knee, and you will kind of swing your ankle, side to side like this, and he will resist you. And of course, then your hip is rotating and you're activating particular muscles. So
Yeah,
there is no machine for that. And through the time I learned a plethora of exercises, there are no standard machines.
that's fantastic. So you created, right? Necessity being the mother of invention. So you created this. Take us through kind of that invention journey. I bet the machines that are behind you were not version 1. Did you work on this all on your own? How long did it get you to where you're like, hey, this is it? This is really the point where this model will work. I believe this is something I could sell.
Yeah. So it took about 10 years to get to where I'm at now. That's because of bootstrapping, each iteration of the prototype, engineering, and then having it built at a machine shop. At one point, it was cheaper for me to just buy a small machine shop that was going out of business and set up in there and start building these things and skipping the traditional engineering step. But yeah, 10 years. And I'd say it was interesting, the feedback, because at first my product was friction based. And, then I showed it to some therapists and they said, man, this is amazing. But if you could have it weight based, where you're lifting the weight and lowering the weight, but still in that circle, then you've got it. That's the best way to activate a muscle.
Okay.
So when iterated that, so probably about 4 years when I was really on track and hearing feedback that was like, this is great. This should be in every PT office. And then the iterations became, well, let's make it easier to use. Let's make it cheaper to manufacture. Let's make it a couple more bells and whistles and, things like that. So
I want to make sure that's crystal clear for our listeners. I mean, this is, and most projects like this are not overnight successes. This took dogged persistency for 10 years and took testing with specific users who would use this model to get to that perfection. I know you said kind of it was a short, more like 4 or 5 years once you really got into a good rhythm. Did you work through NDAs with this one specific physical therapist? Did you partner with them? How did you get that in to be able to, put this in the hands of actual, therapists that could give you that feedback?
yeah, so Well, I'm going to throw it in there. That first physical therapist that we had the conversation, I was his patient.
Okay.
He has never seen the device I've made.
Wow.
The ability to penetrate someone and get the feedback and get their time is so hard. I mean, these therapists are educated, PhD, and here I am, a nobody, just trying to borrow 10 minutes of their time. So it continues to be such a hurdle.
Okay.
But sorry, I forget, what was your original question? I wanted to throw that one in there.
Well, let's see. I think it's important. I was just saying, that when you start talking about your product, maybe it was already patented or filed by the time you were communicating with these therapists. Is that true?
Yeah.
Or was there a moment where there was, hey, you haven't totally filed this. It's still under confidentiality. How did you handle that?
Right. So in the very, very beginning, there was no NDAs. You're just getting some feedback, asking questions, more from friends or acquaintances that were at my university. The university helped me out quite a bit with open doors and giving me time. So
Which university, if you don't mind me asking?
UNM, University of New Mexico.
That's fantastic. Good. Good.
Um,
And it was all fairly casual. There was no, technology transfer agreement or contracts between you and the professor. Was it more
Right.
casual?
Right, real casual. They, I'd say at least 2 or 3 times I had several PhD, professors up in my, my big. I had a big box truck at the time that was set up like a gym in the back. That's what I would take around for feedback. So they came up in there, try it out, talked about what I should research, how I should use it, safely, stuff like this.
Okay.
No NDAs. I got it patent pending pretty early on with a super comprehensive patent that took me a couple weeks to write, along with the help of an attorney, and is it, I don't know, 80 or 90 pages. All the different ways you could build it, and all the what ifs that you can stuff in there. So yeah, once I had that pending, then I was much more likely or willing to have conversations without an NDA. And honestly, what I've learned since then is that most people do not have the desire or fortitude to steal something and take it this far, especially if it's already patent pending, but of course there's always risk, right? So
Yeah. Well, let's show off your website. Maybe look at a few videos. Is that a good time to do that?
yeah, for sure.
Okay. We won't get any audio, at least right now, but I'll at least be able to share the website. And it is twistresist.com. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Let's take a peek. Made in the USA. Go ahead and walk us through what we're looking at here.
Yeah. So this is kind of my demo video. It's multifunction. It literally does all these things with the attachments that it comes with. It's circular.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
you are consistent resistance all the way around that circle. And so, of course, the body, all of the joints move in circles. So we're literally, it's kind of a obvious solution to the problem. We have circular joints. We need circular resistance. And if you're pulling on a cable at the gym, you're getting a substandard exercise. It is useful for some things. Linear exercise is useful for some things, but circular resistance is perfect for activating the muscle completely.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And this is a lot. So it's all basically one main device or piece of equipment, and it's just a matter of adjusting it up and down.
Yep.
And then you've got different handles, it looks like.
Yep, different handles, different extensions. You got a short bar up to a long bar. That head right there goes to all the different angles. Yeah.
Cool.
It literally does.
It's very cool. Very cool product. Very innovative. Never seen anything like it. Yeah, and it, when we first started talking, it was like, oh, is this for like, just wrist resist, right? This is for the wrist only, right? No, this is everything, right? This is
Yeah.
comprehensive. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very
A
cool.
lot of them are first in the world. So there's spin-off products. This machine in particular won't be for a gym. It's more for a trainer or a therapist to work with a client. It's pretty complicated. But the spin-off machines that do singular exercises, like for instance, the spine rotation, that's just for the gym. So you can walk up to it, do spine rotation, walk away.
I wanted to show off the patent. I mean, obviously, there's bold patents. We're a big proponent of that. So let's take a look and maybe nerd out for a second.
Yeah.
So this was issued right in February 2020. So kind of at the height of COVID. Maybe you got I'm sure you got a story about how COVID affected you and whatnot. But this was issued, 5 years ago. So you've got 15 years of life left on this in terms of, excluding others from making, using, or selling. And you're not joking, 74 pages of spec. My gosh, they were quite thorough on this here. So this was awesome. And if you mentioned there's some copycats. Have you noticed any other infringers or folks that you thought might be coming close to infringing of what you're doing?
No, there's no copycats that I know of. Of course, my heart kind of stops when I see somebody come out with, oh, we got the latest, greatest fitness invention ever. It's going to change the industry. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to do it. And then it's just more of the same, just a different color, or, oh, look, the screen has a new app or whatever. The industry is due for an overhaul. And that's basically what I'm trying to do is inject that. You see people at the gym trying to do these exercises. They're pulling on a cable and stuff, trying to do rotator cuff or trying to do a wood chop or something. They're making a circular motion with a linear cable, and that's my jam is bringing that to light. That like we can get a much better activation here. And I did take it out to University of Southern California for a few research studies, and twist resist is up to 40% more effective than anything they could throw at it. They were throwing manual therapy at it, bands, cables, free weights, and that circle is literally the game changer.
Okay. One thing on my mind we haven't talked much about yet. I mean, you've been at this for 10 years. You talked about having a truck, lots of equipment. I'm sure things got expensive. Let's talk about funding. How have you funded this, and how might you fund in the future?
So far, bootstrapping. That's been super hard on myself and my family. But at this juncture, it would either require a investor, some sort of seed round or a round of investing to get it manufactured over in Asia, most likely. It's sad to say that, but I love America, but our manufacturing is expensive. So that's probably the plan, unless I exit to a larger competitor and let them take it to the world, basically. So that's the crossroads I'm at right now. I've got 10. You see a few of them behind me.
Right.
Getting those out to the market for beta testing and develop a method is what I need to develop. I've actually got someone from UNM that's going to be taking that job to develop a method for the physical therapy offices.
That's really cool. So you're actually going to provide the physical therapy offices not only with the product, but like the protocol for using it.
Yeah, that's the cool. Protocol. Yeah, and that could bring some continued revenue. We sell a machine for whatever, $6,000 or $8,000, and then we have to certify each therapist or trainer that's on it, and that's something you learn in business school, is you've got to continue to harvest from that field somehow. But not only that will help keep the industry a little bit more standardized. I've learned the physical therapy industry is kind of the Wild West. There's no standardization for how they're gonna fix your rotator cuff injury or whatever. So we're trying to offer some standardization, and hopefully that turns into some good research studies with universities and different institutions that can really put some science into it with numbers of patients and things like that.
Right. Oh, that's great.
No,
Um,
it seems to be to me to be like a really great product. I mean, I can imagine using it and being able to focus just on that rotator cuff, right? Not have to worry about some of those stabilizing muscles or injury from losing the weight to the side or whatever. So I think it's really cool. I'm really glad to hear you've done this. And $6,000 to $8,000 seems like a deal. If you're a physical therapist or a practice, I mean, that seems like a no brainer to me. That seems
Yeah.
that's half the cost I expected to hear.
Yeah, yeah, and made in America, yeah, it'd be 12 to 15.
Yeah.
These prototypes back here cost me about 8,000 each cost
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, yeah, that's the way. It's got to be made in Asia and drive that cost down.
Yeah.
so you mentioned kind of those two options I think I heard. One is finding an investor, maybe, going on a real life type Shark Tank, or finding an investor panel, or um, to help you go big. You kind of alluded to this other option of working with an existing brand, a company that
Yeah.
may already be out there in PT clinics. Can you name any of those that you like? Have you pursued any deals and missed, or you're still looking to do that now?
Well, still looking to do it. I've approached a couple and not had the interest. They're in. There's nobody really actually targeting physical therapy for strength like this. There's a
Hmm.
couple that are doing some cardio, which would be New Step or SciFit. They've got those cardio machines that are good for elderly people to get in and out of, but they don't want to do strength. They are kind of dying themselves. Their industry is not that lucrative.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to convince some of these traditional strength companies to take it on, but for them to enter the PT market, that's the jump that I'm trying to get them to make. It's also
Yeah.
kind of hard. So I'm thinking maybe targeting some of these companies that sell like the patient tables, the tables you get on. Some of these other companies that sell like the boots and the different slings and different things that you get at a PT office, the little personal devices.
Yeah, well, I mean,
But
my mind goes to like post-surgery stuff. I mean, people getting new knees and new hips.
right,
There's no standard strength training for that. Or they just walk, or I don't know. What do they say?
yeah, they're literally like manual therapy and bands, in particular body positions and move your leg like this or that. But they're not thinking like a bodybuilder thinks. There's kind of these two worlds. You've got the bodybuilders that are literally working on building muscles in their maximum capacity, which is really healthy, but they're ignoring the small muscles that are prone to injury. And then you've
Gotcha.
got the PT world that's working with all the injured muscles, all the little weird ones in your shoulder and your hips and your spine that no one knows the names of. But they're not thinking like bodybuilders where they need to, stress that muscle out and get it to enhance its strength with a particular pinpoint precision. So I find myself in the middle trying to tell this story and yeah.
Gosh, Aaron, it just seems to me that, some of these big national gyms, LA Fitness, Lifetime Fitness, I mean, it seems to me like those gyms might be interested in something like this, right? Because, there's a lot of folks there who are older, who are going through therapy, might have gone through physical therapy, but then they're basically told to, continue to, work on these exercises at home, right? But something
Yeah.
like this would be ideal for those folks.
In my ideal world, I would love it to be at those gyms, and they've got
Yeah.
a little area with trainers, and they're bringing in people that are in that stage between PT and
Right.
living a pain-free life. They need some special training, but I find that those gyms are not interested in that model
Hmm.
of personal training somebody on the gym floor is kind of dying. But then you have these boutique gyms where you go in there and you pay quite a bit of money per month to get trained specifically. So that's a market that I hope I can start to penetrate. But right now, the only market that really screams like they need this is physical therapy.
Gosh, but the hard part of that is though, you're selling, ones and twosies into these existing companies, right? Whereas like, man, if you could find a large company like a Lifetime Fitness to buy 1,000 of these, right? Then all
Yeah,
of a sudden it's much easier for you to make that transaction happen.
right. It's a numbers
Interesting.
game.
Good product. Just got to figure out a way to get it into the market and find the right investor.
Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking maybe some of these big physical therapy chains that have, 400, some 800 locations and get a few pre-orders. I'm actually working on a pre-order with one of those large personal training gyms, and I probably can't discuss details, but I'm hoping I can either sell or license a couple hundred
Yeah.
machines to them. But I don't know, man. That's we're always trying to figure out how to jump the next hurdle. And in the lean startup method, this is literally one of the biggest hurdles. Is I've got this. Can I actually sell it?
Yeah. Yep. Let's talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind sharing. So, how much sales do you have? Yearly, or let's say, and what kind of profitability do you have?
Yeah. So far, still zero sales. We literally got these 10 machines done about 45 days ago.
Okay.
And
Real recent.
yeah, and then that's when I sparked up conversation with this large company that wants to do licensing, and so I kind of hit the brakes and realized I need that method designed. When I sell the machine, I need a booklet or a training program that, okay, here's your machine, and now we're going to spend the next day, and I'm going to teach you how to use it properly for your patients. So
Cool.
that's where I had to hit the brakes and say, let's create that.
That's great. Yeah, my mind goes toward, influencer or perhaps celebrity type marketing. You've got big name PTs out there, Kelly Starrett, Ben Greenfield, David Reevy. Some of these guys they got their own podcasts, and
Yeah.
kind of like the what's that, George Foreman for the grill. You just have a
Right.
really well known face. Yeah, I endorse this. Anyway,
Right.
you've thought of these things. So anyway, I know marketing can be a major issue, but kudos to you for been so diligent, gone through business school, working with the university. I think you're doing a lot of the right things, and that is what it takes. I think you're on your way, Aaron.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing your story. I'd love to have you stay on. We've got a Shark Tank pitch for a piece of equipment, and we could maybe have some more banter back and forth and critique on that. Matt, did you have any questions for Aaron before we wrap up?
No, I think just the last comment I would say, Aaron, is that when I was a younger attorney first starting up with my practice, I kind of felt the same way. Like I have something to offer here that people need and want, right? And how do I find that connection point to get me in front of the right people? And for me, it was, meeting folks like JD here, who, have also had smaller practices, and we could connect and kind of, collaborate together. But I'm just thinking for you, there's going to be that one contact that you make in the next few months that's going to change everything for you.
Yeah, I hope so.
Just keep looking for it because it's there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yep. You got the right attitude. Aaron, are you willing to share your email address if anybody out there in this wide world that we're sharing and talking about wants to get a hold of you? Okay, go ahead with that.
So it's Aaron at twistresist.com. AARON.
Perfect. All right, push that out. Feel free to get a hold of Aaron. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, tips, insights, maybe you want to co-invest, work with him on getting that product out to other PTs in the world. So hang tight. I'll keep you backstage, and I'll bring you back on after we're done screen sharing here.
Sounds good.
All right, Matt. Cue the music. I'm going to switch over our audio.
Sounds good. I'll give you the thumbs up when I hear it.
Okay.
entrepreneurs hope is the next hot trend in fitness.
Hi, Sharks. My name is Paul Toback.
I'm Steve Lenz, and our company is Sproing Fitness.
We're from Chicago, Illinois, and we're seeking a $500,000 investment for an 8% stake in our company. Wow. Sharks, running remains the most popular form of cardio workout. But with 85% of runners injured every year, as runners ourselves, we had to ask, what are we doing wrong? The short answer is we're running the wrong way. And spoiler alert, the treadmill is a big part of the problem.
Everybody that runs has to fall forward in order to move. But in the case of a treadmill, the ground is moving underneath you, making it virtually impossible to fall forward.
Instead, the treadmill causes you to land out ahead of your body on your heel, pounding your knees, your hips, your back, your ankles. This is the #1 cause of injury in runners. We knew there had to be a better way, so we reinvented the treadmill. Introducing Sproing, the first new running machine in over 100 years. Sproing replaces the treadmill's hard wooden deck with a soft, impact-absorbing air cushion and lets you feel like you're running on the beach. Our rear tether system allows you to fall forward and simulate real running. No more dangerous moving belts.
But we recognized with Sproing we had a bigger opportunity than just selling fitness equipment. So we leveraged the versatility of Sproing to break into the studio market, opening studios in Chicago, Houston, and Baltimore.
Sharks, Sproing is the next big thing in fitness. Now everybody can train hard and land soft. We hear you all are a little competitive, so who's ready to come on down for a little friendly competition?
Damon, go ahead, do it again.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I really feel that. We're doing intervals of cardio, strength, and power. We're changing every 30 seconds, which is called Tabata style, the most effective way to get your heart rate up. It already exists. Why not just sell the, what's it called, the Sproing? Why? Like, I don't even get this. Because once you go down that path, you automatically get to the end where we did, right? You start with, well, let's just put a mat down. Well, you need a rear tether system. And I ran into a guy once. He said the same thing to me. He said, I'm going to put a mat in my yard. I said, okay, try it. He goes, yeah, but then I need to know how fast I'm going. So he goes, I need a footfall sensor to figure it out. Because then I need a console. I go, great. You're going to end
How much
right
does
You
this
need the whole
cost?
machine.
If I want to buy one for my gym, how much?
$6,499. It is right in the sweet spot. Commercial treadmills run anywhere between.
So it's a high-end
$3,000.
treadmill.
No.
Very.
I used to be the CEO of Valley Total Fitness.
Nice.
So we have depth in this industry. We have knowledge. You do not see this anywhere.
So can we ask Damon and Robert, how did you feel just running in place? What did you think?
It's like running in sand, and it's really hard. Like it gets harder and harder as you do it. It's a great workout, Paul.
Thank you.
Challenge I was having there is on a treadmill, take it up, you take it down, you turn on the TV on there and you watch it if you're walking in place or doing other things. This is for intense. This is like,
Yeah, Paul, that's my problem with that. I'm not going to do this for 45 minutes.
Here's the focus we have right now. We are opening studios, high intensity interval
Sorry, so
training.
let's stop right there.
Sure.
You came out here selling the machine, but you're actually selling studios.
When I left Valley, I wanted to invent a brand new machine. There's only been 5 pieces of cardio equipment ever invented. Treadmill, elliptical, stepper, bike, rower. That's it.
So how did you go from this to a studio?
So we went out and we started to sell equipment.
How much of it did you sell?
We sold about $1 million worth of equipment. That was in a 2-year period. We were meeting more resistance than we thought, right? This story had.
Yeah, you're meeting guys like me that are very skeptical about this.
Steve was the former head of engineering at Life Fitness. He has more treadmill patents, more elliptical patents than any human being on this planet. And I was the biggest buyer of treadmills.
So what was the roadblock?
The treadmill manufacturers have no incentive to innovate. Here's the health club owner said, nobody's asked me for this yet.
So then who bought it?
We got some traction in rehab centers. We got some traction in private training studios. And we said, you know what? The uptake isn't as fast as we like. And all we kept saying to ourselves is, look, if we were still running our company, this is an amazing product that would give us a competitive edge. We would replace treadmills with
So you
this.
said, we're going to open up
We're
studios.
going to open up studios.
Oh, here we go. I'm out.
there you go.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck, guys.
Appreciate it.
No deal. No deal.
I'm out too.
Let's bring on Aaron. Aaron, what are your immediate thoughts? I'll get into some of mine as well.
You know, I it's probably good cardio, but to compare it to a treadmill, I think is just fundamentally wrong because there's no gait. Gait meaning the walk, left foot in front of the right foot and on and on. This is more of a kind of a hybrid stair stepper because they're doing things in place. So I think maybe they're missing the mark by saying they're the new treadmill because they're literally not walking or running on that thing.
Yeah, I think I mean, they may be right that this could be, if they're true, if it's right, that's only 5 devices, this could be a 6th, new type of equipment. But I think, who was it pointed out? I mean, it really is more of a high intensity type workout. It's not really a replacement of a treadmill.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like those like ski machines, right? Where you're, those are pretty intense. It kind of seems like that in some fashion, right? No one's just sitting on that for 45 minutes, right? It's more of a sprint.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this type of product they did secure a patent on, as you probably guessed, and they got quite the pedigree. They've got the background in for doing the patents. Those guys are pretty well known. Life Fitness and Valley Total Fitness. So I'll show off their patent. So for a functional invention like this, they did seek a utility patent, which is so back in 2017. Okay, yeah. So Sproing Fitness is the applicant. These are the two inventors based in Illinois. So they got it a number of years ago. They've got a lot of detail here as well. 27 pages. It's describing a specific type of technology where there's not a moving, conveyor belt. So that's it. It's a single patent. One thing I will say is because they're going to more of a studio model, that was one thing that kind of caught my eye. Was that they went away from trying to sell just the equipment. And maybe kind of think about you, Aaron, in a way, you're kind of going through that process now. You're coming up with a method of using it. But before I talk about you, I wanted to share that they did not get a deal, but they are still in business. Amazingly, their website, they've got 4 locations, the 4 studios at Sproing, and they've kind of locked in on these certain communities here. Their locations they've got in Chicago, Baltimore, Columbia, and in Houston. So these sort of separate studios kind of stand alone, and they've sold $10 million just this year. So yearly sales about $10 million. So pretty significant sales, even without the help of the Sharks. Obviously, they get good marketing by being on the show.
But they still let their trademarks lapse. So
let's talk about that. So what do you think about their mark? Sproing, which I don't like the name.
It's a terrible name. I thought maybe it was someone's last name or something like that, but it must be, I'm trying to think like spring and what's the other word that we're looking for here? What's the OING at the end?
I don't know. No, it's nobody's last name. So yeah,
spring going, running. I don't know. Bad trademark. Because it's suggestive, but I don't know of what. So, they had a number of trademark registrations over the years. Sproing, TrainSoft, a different Sproing application, drip wall, but ultimately they've let them all go. They've all been abandoned for failure to renew. So either they don't have an attorney watching over them, or there's just not enough interest or money there to keep it going.
Okay.
But if they were making $10 million a year, then it's a no-brainer to keep them alive. But
yeah,
maybe they don't.
It is surprising that they can push this. Maybe it's just through kind of some of their reputation that they're leveraging.
Sure,
but hard to say.
Yeah, this doesn't seem like a business that's going to continue to grow. Put it that way. It seems like that has passed.
Yeah, they've hit a ceiling, I think, for sure. Yeah, they've sprunged already.
Yeah,
spring is sprung. Well, okay, all right. Well, let's wrap up today. We had an awesome show. Aaron, thanks again for coming on, talking with us about Twist Resist. I'm excited about what's up for you. You, I think, do have a future, much growth,
100%
in what you're up to, and research backed. I like all the steps you've taken. So hopefully we have inventors taking notes. Any final words? Any things you'd like to share here on the way out, Aaron?
Oh, I would say you know, any listeners out there thinking about doing something, I would say think long and hard about it. And put it in front of your potential market without fear, and listen closely, because the road is long and hard and expensive, and the sacrifice is real. Like it's not fun whatsoever. You get little moments of fun, you know, but most of it is just grueling, second guessing, and just. But when you get that good feedback from someone that really knows what they're talking about, you're like, okay, well, that juiced me up for another few months. I can keep throwing my savings at this project.
Yeah.
So yeah. Other than that, though, let's keep innovating, because the world needs it.
Love that. Well, for both Patents, Matt and I, Aaron, wishing you guys an awesome day. We'll be back next week, Wednesday, 12 o'clock noon Pacific, for Bold Inventors Show. Go big, go bold.